Have you ever heard the one about the Soviet nail factory? It's a classic story from the days of the Soviet Union's centrally planned economy. Back then, everything was about hitting numbers. Quotas determined how much steel, how many shoes, or how many barrels of oil each factory had to produce. The idea seemed simple enough. Set clear, quantitative goals and reward the managers who meet them. But here's where it gets interesting, especially with nails. One legend even says a factory made a single nail so massive it needed a crane to move it. A famous satirical cartoon from the time even showed managers proudly presenting one giant nail to an inspector. Now, whether this story is completely true or a bit exaggerated, historians still debate it. But it perfectly illustrates a powerful idea known as Goodhart's law. The law, coined by British economist Charles Goodhart, basically says when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Or software developers whose performance is judged by how many lines of code they write. This encourages them to write bloated, inefficient code instead of clean, elegant solutions. In the world of academic research, the pressure to publish or perish means researchers are often measured by the sheer number of papers they publish, which can lead to rushing out low-quality studies instead of focusing on groundbreaking, carefully conducted work. So, how do we escape this trap? How can organizations and governments design better systems that don't lead to such absurd outcomes? The first step is to recognize that no single metric can perfectly capture a complex goal. Instead of relying on just one number, it's much better to use a combination of different metrics and qualitative assessments. For a factory, you could measure not just volume or weight, but also conduct quality inspections, track customer satisfaction, and even assess the actual utility of the products. If an algorithm's main goal is to maximize click-through rates, content creators will be pushed to produce clickbait headlines and superficial articles instead of thoughtful, substantive information. The same danger applies to machine learning. If an AI model is trained on historical data that contains biases, and its performance is measured without considering fairness, the model will just end up amplifying those existing biases. To counter this, engineers and policymakers need to think about multi-objective optimization, where algorithms are designed to balance different goals, including ethical considerations. The story of the Soviet nails has stuck around for so long because it's a simple, vivid warning. It shows us how easily good intentions can be twisted when we reduce complex goals to a single, simple number. The lesson isn't that we should stop measuring things. Measurement is essential for progress, but we need to be smart about it. Metrics should always be seen as guides, not as absolute gods. They should be paired with qualitative judgment and the understanding of the real-world goal. We need to build systems that reward the behaviors we actually want, not just the ability to hit a number. For policymakers, this means avoiding narrow targets. A country might hit its carbon emissions target by simply outsourcing its polluting industries to other nations.